Transmitting to you from the Emerald City in the heart of Cascadia, I'm your host, Jason Rigdon, and you are listening to the Podcast of Mystery. We have two very special guests for this episode. First, we have the remarkably insightful Birdbrain Chickenman from Portland, Oregon. We will talk about what it is like to be a chicken man and a little bit about some of his strange paranormal experiences. And then we have Richard Magill, personal photographer to extraterrestrials, the man too weird for George Norrie and Coast to Coast AM, but just weird enough for the Podcast of Mystery. But first, have you told a friend about the Podcast of Mystery? Like I said, this is the number one way people discover new podcasts. It's through word of mouth. It's when, a friend tells you about an awesome show, a new show that they like, that they just can't shut up about. I need you folks. I need you, my listeners. The people who really believe in this show to help share the word of the Podcast of Mystery, to tell everyone you know about the Podcast of Mystery. Tell them, go to podcastofmystery.com. It's going to have all the details. It's going to have all the episodes, all the ways to subscribe. Podcastofmystery.com. Please tell your friends.
Hello, my name is CK, and I'm a guy who rents himself out as a Birdbrain for hire. That is, I'm a chicken man. I wear a chicken suit, and I'll do whatever kind of advertising or marketing or fundraising you might like me for.
And how did this chicken man thing kind of start?
Well, it's a long story. I hope you have a few minutes.
Oh, yes.
I have to go way back about 30 years ago when I first got into costuming. I did a lot of work at the time for studios and theme parks and traveling shows and things. And I played all sorts of characters, the famous ones you've heard of, ones you've never heard of for sure. I even did some commercial work, and I lived in Florida. And as you might imagine, I didn't work for Disney. I will say I actually, that's one company that I danced all around throughout my career, but I never worked for them by choice. My own personal choice at the time. So that was pretty much my life for a few decades. But the industry started to change in some ways, and I sort of got onto other things and kind of fell out of doing these gigs. I was a freelancer for a long time, and I worked directly for a long time. But I just got a lot of contracts and moved out to Oregon. So I wanted to study sociology. But along the line, I made a chicken suit. And I guess how this kind of came up, it was a sort of self-parody, if you will. All my life, I've been metaphorically working in a chicken suit. I've always thought that the humble chicken suit was one of the most iconic tropes in comedy, like the rubber chicken or the gorilla suit. Often it's looked down upon as a lower form of costuming, especially if you're doing something as degrading as waving a sign for a chicken and waffles restaurant. It's just the kind of thing where someone unfortunate enough to find themselves in that situation, like the guy who picked the short straw in the office pool that week, has to go out and wear the chicken suit. So they find themselves in a situation like that, they should probably take a moment and examine their life. That's the public perception, and I feel kind of like an observer of all that, having come from the angle I came at it. And so I put this costume together originally about 15 years ago for a gag, and I went to, it may have been an ill-advised thing to do, but because it didn't work out so well, I went to a furry convention to test the waters and see how people liked it, but it's quite a different dynamic from the traditional fursuit, and I could tell I didn't really fit in. The chicken didn't anyway, and but it was fun to wear. And then in the teams, a gig came up that could use the chicken, and I thought that was a hilarious idea. I had the time and the interest, and then there was another gig, and things kind of came up along the way, and it was always a riot. And before you knew it, I was renting myself out as a chicken man for hire, and I've done a lot of different odd things through the past few years, and it's been a blast. I love doing it.
So you've been doing this for a while. Is it the same chicken suit, or has it evolved?
Yeah, it's evolved. Some of it is just falling apart because I'd wear it so much, so I had to do a lot of repairs and improved it. I actually would like to improve it even more so. thinking about ways to do that lately. It's just getting old, you know. I need a little bit of a spruce up. I need
the 2.0,
shampoo my feathers,
like the Mark 7 or something like that. You know, like the Iron Man armor. You know, each time he makes it more complex and better.
Yeah. It's actually become more complex, I would say. But the most recent, if I may plug my most recent thing,
yeah,
I was involved in a project. It's an independent film by the name of Vireality, and it's being put together by a brilliant, talented artist named James Strecker down in Eugene, Oregon, just south of me. And it's I think all but a final scene is in the bag, but the scene involved a large crowd of people, and it was then COVID hit. So it's kind of in suspension right now, and he's hoping to have it put together by early 2022. But look for that film, independent film called Vireality.
And were you involved in this in your role as a chicken?
I was, yeah. I was. Without giving too much away, James Strecker himself kind of gets sucked into the internet, and he has to battle for humanity with all sorts of oddities and strangeness from the internet world, from the cyber world. And I'm one of those creatures, I guess. I'm a large cacophony of oddities. It's kind of a surreal comedy with a lot of action.
So is there like a persona that goes along with the suit, or is it more kind of just you being you, but also with the suit?
It's more the latter, with the added kind of character built onto it. Like, well, you know, I mean, I enjoy doing it personally, but the gag is sort of like, yeah, I'm the guy in the chicken suit here. What do you need me for? Kind of like use me, abuse me, pay me minimum wage, you know, that kind of character. But really, it's just me, and I don't really feel that way about it. It's so I'll do whatever they say within reason. I definitely have guidelines that won't do anything in bad taste, nothing illegal, nothing blatantly sexual or any kind of. It has to be safe, and there are some things that I've refused to do, but then I've just had fans. I've had people who wanted to pay me to take a walk with me, and I said I politely declined on some of them, and I said none of them worked out, but one of them I just said, you know, that would cost you a lot of money for really not much payoff. I'm more of a corporate chicken, if you will. Even though I'm anti-corporate. I feed off the corporations, but I'm just a bottom-feeding chicken.
Those rules seem very reasonable. What kind of people hire you? Who needs a chicken man?
Oh, a lot of times it's a local business, and they just want to get. So you see these sign spinners, sign wavers. Some of them are fantastic. I could never do that. I'm not that coordinated. But a lot of times I've noticed when I'm driving down the street and I see those guys, I can't really tell, wait, what's that sign say? Is that a pizza joint? He's flipping it around. I can't tell. And then I remember that this guy was flipping the sign later, but I don't know what it was for. If you're a chicken man like me, I actually am strategic about where I wave the sign. I let everybody see what's going on. And that's an attention catcher. And that's the sort of thing where people tell people later on. People go to the office, they go home, they say, you won't believe what I saw. One guy pulled over on the side of the road and gave me $20 and drove away. I was just, I was just dumbfounded. But he said, as he drove off, he said, "You just gave me the laugh of my day. Thank you so much." And that's really gratifying when that sort of thing happens. That makes it all worth it.
Yeah. How do people react to you? Like, I imagine children are pretty delighted.
Children like it. Yeah. Adults, it's a mixed bag. I've just, and it depends on the setting too. There are settings where just nobody says a word. I've been on public transit as the chicken, and people just are silent. But then again, I've never really had a terrible altercation or anything with anybody. Everyone is always at least pleased to see the chicken, and if they're not, they tend to avoid. So that's fine with me. They have the right to avoid. I completely understand that. Not everybody's going to be comfortable with that. It's kind of different.
Do you have any competition? Sorry.
I would say you have to be I guess you have to be respectful of that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
If I may just reach back to the mascotting that I used to do and all that for the studios and things, if there'd be a meet and greet and you'd see a scared child, I would always hate it when the mascot would try to be aggressive and make the child happy. Like, no, it's cool. Kid doesn't want to see you. Back off, But parents would push them in the face anyway. So I just try to be very, very respectful of that kind of thing.
And do you have any competition in the Chicken Man business?
I wouldn't say so, unless you count, I guess, the sign spinners. Those, what is it, Sign Spinners of America or something? There's a whole group online.
Oh, there is.
But no, they're great at what they do. But I guess other things I've done have been things like the film. I did one film a few years ago, and it's just gone into the great abyss. It starred someone that was on True Blood, I believe. And it was a fun project. I was the chicken at a Halloween party, so I fit right in. But who knows when that'll ever come out, if at all. I guess there are more films that go into storage that actually see the light of day. So that was one of them. I did a music video a while back. I don't really want to mention any individual specific names because I don't have the permission of these people. But did a video a while back too, and it was kind of the same story. That it was a lot of fun to do, but I don't know what happened. Can't find any trace of it on the internet anymore.
Yes, I've had that experience. I mean, not in any kind of suit, but just helping out with these projects. And then you're like, well, whatever happened to X? And like, well, funding, we couldn't do these scenes. And so it all fell through. And it's very sad. I'm wondering, so. Yeah. I'd love to see some of these things come to fruition. It was a very creative video. I had a great time viewing it. So you're experienced in, kind of this costuming, I think might be the right word. I'm not quite sure. You can correct me. What was it like the very first time you went out as a chicken?
Oh, gosh. At first, it was there. I won't lie. It felt weird because honestly, all of my costume career, I was anonymous and I enjoyed that. I appreciated that. I actually used to think about how great it was that, I would imagine the Beatles, how they couldn't get through a crowd of people because people would just storm them. And I would think how fame is not all it's cracked up to be. People don't want fame. But I could take off my head, just go to the mall after being clamored by the public and go to the mall and be anonymous. And that was great. I'm not saying the Chicken Man's anywhere near the Beatles, not yet. But I am showing my face, and that's a more vulnerable thing, and it's a whole different dynamic. And yeah, so at first when I went out, it was a different kind of feeling. Like, this is, how are people going to react? I don't know if it was my pride so much as the unexpected. And immediately it was a great reaction from everybody I met, and that melted away almost immediately. So that didn't last long. I had a great time right out of the gate, basically.
Seems like you've put quite a deal of thought into this. Do you see this as like a art project? I mean, you were talking about the sociological aspects of it. I mean, what are some of the things you're thinking about when you are in that chicken suit?
Oh yeah. Well, because I'm getting all these different reactions from people, I often think about their perspectives, and why they react the way they do, why some people are nervous around characters, and how people relate to animal characters. And then this kind of blurs the boundaries between animal and human. Am I a clown here for your amusement, or am I a guy in a chicken suit? Exactly what? That's a guy, And so that's interesting. I guess it's for me. It's just a lot of fun, and I love the reactions. I've always been a fan of. I guess I've always been a fan of people and studying them, but I have to say that my performing career and interacting with people, with the public, really intensified that sort of interest. And I grew up in a weird kind of household, a weird situation anyway. So it was like, wow, the outside world is crazy. People are crazy, and they are. I maintain they are. I'm okay. The rest of the world is crazy. And so that's why when I sort of retired from showbiz, as it were, I wanted to study sociology here in Portland and learn about identity and what we identify with in terms of society and how we see ourselves. And I mentioned furry earlier. A lot of people think it's an interesting sort of fandom, if you will, because it's so diverse, so dynamic, and the thread that holds it together is relation with animals, I should say human animals, anthropomorphic animals. And this gets into sociology. I'm fascinated in the sociology behind that. Sociologist named Charles Cooley, early in the 20th century, explained something he called the concept of the looking glass self, which holds that we imagine how others see us and form our identity based on that. Essentially, we imagine how they see you, we imagine how they judge us, and then we form emotions based on this, and that leads to a sense of self. So with the kind of, corporate plastic world that the last few generations have been growing up in, especially since the television era, to me, it doesn't, furry is not that odd of a concept. I think I would be surprised if there weren't people in recent generations identifying with animals in certain ways. They're part of our world. People say Bugs Bunny is as real as a human actor, but in a different way. A kid will say Bugs Bunny is a real entity, but in a different way than humans are alive. And that's obviously animal symbol. The symbols have been a part of humanity since humans, from ancient cultures to Beatrix Potter stories to Tony the Tiger. They make great satire for any sort of reflection of the human condition. And, animation legend, I'm sure you know, Chuck Jones, Warner Brothers director, best known for his Wile E. Coyote and Bugs Bunny work. He said that it's easier to humanize animals than it is to humanize humans. And that's a true statement. That's a really powerful statement. A human comes with a lot of identifiable baggage, while an animal is more of a blank slate. Like a mouse is just a mouse and a duck is a duck. But when we infuse human characteristics into those creatures, they become identifiable and even familiar. So, what an anthropomorphic animal is really a human in animal form. They're all symbolic, and we collectively understand that symbolism. And I guess that was kind of a rabbit hole, if you will, Beatrix Potter style rabbit hole. But that's my sociological approach is kind of from that point of like that realm of thinking. And people see this chicken. What do they think? How do they identify with that? And it's a cheap trick to use animals as marketing ploys. Give the kids a break with the sugary cereals. I understand that, but I kind of that's why I guess I kind of enjoy being out there and just being this entity, this thing that's just remembered as this symbol that people saw, like this guy in a chicken suit. That's all I have to say, a guy in a chicken suit, and it conjures up a funny image,
And there is a commercial aspect to this, right? You are doing this maybe as a business.
Yeah, it's a semi-serious business, I'd say. I have a lot of fun with it, and I definitely enjoy doing charity work. I've done this for free on a few occasions, and I definitely would do it for free for fundraising or any kind of charity work. It's always fun to, have different campaigns, and I don't know. I'm sure chicken could fit in somewhere.
I think you said about going to a furry convention and maybe not quite fitting perfectly. Has that changed at all over time?
I think so. That was about 15 years ago, and the internet was in its relative infancy, I guess, compared to now, especially now that it's all social and in our pocket. It's a different kind of dynamic now. And furry has expanded so greatly. It's so diverse now. Even more than then, and I don't know. I think I'm not sure how the Chickenmen would go over at a convention today. That'd be interesting to see.
I think before we had a little chat before this interview, and the show is largely about paranormal experiences. Have you had any paranormal experiences you'd like to share?
Oh, I have. I have indeed. As I mentioned, I'm a skeptic. I'm a born skeptic, and I believe in science. And so I need to see the proof, but I also can't deny what I've experienced. And I have two things that, one is a specific incident, and the other is more of it's incidents through time. The first one I'd have to say was a bizarre experience. I was working third shift. I was in my 20s at the time. And I was, during the day, I was a human animal and doing a stage show. And then during the third shift hours, I was working as a hotel shuttle driver for the airport. And it was very desolate and quiet in this whole huge lot, the hotel, and it had this large pool area. And I was just walking down the corridor in the pool area, and totally quiet. And I just kind of it felt like I ran into a wall. There was no wall. I was in the middle of the corridor. I just stopped in my tracks. I was frozen there, and I couldn't move, and I didn't understand why. I was compelled to look out into the pool area, and I was just like staring at some lights, and I didn't understand what I was looking at. My hair stood on end. It felt almost chilly, and I couldn't go any further. I actually had to turn back and went back to the main lobby. But here's the thing. I didn't say a word to anybody because that seemed crazy, right? How can I explain I didn't do my job because I ran into cold air? And I sat down in the lobby, and a few minutes later, a little while later, our security guard came around, and she did a patrol of the building, and she comes back into the lobby, and she says to the night auditor, "Have you ever had somebody die in this hotel? Like right around room 120 or so?" And that is exactly where I had that happen just not long earlier. And then I felt kind of silly, like, oh yeah, me too. I felt it too. But I honestly did, I promise you. And the fact that somebody else felt that, and that she came with that sort of conclusion and said that to him, and I was like, I overheard that. I just about flipped. And it turned out, indeed, somebody did die on the first level, or the second level, I believe. That was at the first level, but near that spot in the 70s, I guess. So it was sometime prior even to this. And that's all I know. I don't know how they died or what the circumstances were, but that was definitely something I can't deny occurred. And I don't know. It would be interesting to see what you or your listeners think of such a thing.
Yeah. Did you talk to anybody else about this incident? And did it happen again, or was this just a one-time thing?
It was just a one-time thing. I worked at that, let's say, it was from 95 through 98. I worked at that hotel, and that was the only time that occurred.
Was it strange going through that space again? I imagine you probably traveled through that corridor again.
Yeah, every day I had to, and I thought about it every time. I couldn't pass by without thinking of it, but it didn't happen.
And did you discuss this with your coworkers at all?
Yeah, indeed. I discussed it with the coworkers, which, again, I kind of felt like I was just chiming in, but I wish I'd been so bold as the security guard as to have said something. But I also told my friends about it, and some of them thought it was kind of crazy, but I was like, hey, I know I experienced it. The other experiences that I've had, and I say experiences because it's been something with multiple people and through time, over the past 30 years or so. There have been times when a distant friend is somehow affected in a way that relates to me, and or sees something going on with me, and then tells me about it later, and there's no way they could know about it, and it's usually through a dream. One of the most remarkable things that occurred was in the mid-90s, I had a best friend. She was living in Madison, Wisconsin, going to school there, and I was performing down in Illinois at the time. And something particular had occurred at work that day, and I went home, and there's this whole scenario that I really won't even get into, but involved some specific symbols. And she called me the next day, and I'm the only one who knew any of this. The whole thing was not shared with anyone else. And she basically told me the whole story, but she said it from her perspective in a dream. And the one person in the dream that would have been me, she said she couldn't see the face of. And she was puzzled. She didn't know it was me. She told me this not having any idea it was that what she was saying was connected with me. But the role that I played in the dream was blurred out, and she couldn't make out the identity. So I had to come clean. I had to tell her, like, what you said is exactly what happened yesterday at work and with the whole situation. And the blurred out person was me. And she was later embarrassed because also in another part of the dream, she was making out with the blurred person, which kind of reveals some latent feelings on her part, probably. But it was really interesting that how she ever knew all those details of it, and I wish I could get into the details, but it was insane. A more recent example, I guess, was New Year's 2020. Before we knew what kind of year 2020 would be, I was at a New Year's Eve party, and I was having a terrible time. I don't remember actually having a terrible time New Year's Eve in my life, but that time I was just bristling at the world. I was bristling at my friends. I don't know, some fluids were working against me in my brain, I'm sure. It was weird. And I kind of went to bed all pissed off. And the next morning I got up, went out with my partner, and we were just kind of walking it off, and I was explaining to him my feelings. And my friend calls me from New Mexico. I've known her for almost 30 years as well. And she said she called to see if I was okay, because overnight she had a dream, and she described the party, and she described the bad time I was having and the people at the party and the stuff that was going on. And she said she was worried about me because I was having such intense feelings, and she could sense this in the dream. She was getting this from me. And so she called me right away in the morning and asked me how I was doing. And I told her, well, you won't believe it. And that happened. And just to add a cherry on top of that, I was talking to her. It was in the strip mall parking lot, and I did a 180, and parked right behind me was a van that was emblazoned with the words ESP Painters.
Oh.
Yeah. It had this like a little character, like a head, looked like Conan O'Brien or something, but ESP Painters. And it was like, oh, perfect timing.
Wow. And do you think that these people were maybe particularly psychic themselves, or do you think you were maybe like somehow broadcasting in a way?
There's I don't know. I think I may have been inadvertently broadcasting. Like another case that I'll bring up with the same friend from the first story. I had a terrible time at work. I actually walked off the job. This was that third shift hotel, and she was at a late night cello recital with her friend, and just burst into she was having a great time, burst into tears and had to leave, and didn't know why. She couldn't explain why. And she called me the next day to tell me about it, and the time coincided with my incident at the hotel. And I told her, well, I can tell you why. I don't know how, but this has to be the reason. And she and I were very close in those days, so it stood to reason we would be on the same wavelength. But I really think there's, Jung believed in the collective consciousness. I think there is a certain frequency that we're all tapped into. It's a giant tree of consciousness, if you will, and all the branches are interwoven and connected and make. I think that it's reasonable to believe that they make contact and communicate things. And I think humans I think we're really too distracted by this human-made world that we live in, the society, the social structure, and everything. That it kind of drowns that out. It's like trying to go astronomy gazing from downtown Manhattan, It's just too bright and noisy.
You strike me as someone who is very thoughtful, and I'd really love your opinion on this. When I talk to people, so many people have so many stories of this type of stuff, but so many of them are hesitant to share these stories. Why do you think people are so hesitant to share these, like, strange stories?
Well, even today, things that people call the supernatural are kind of not demonized so much, but stigmatized. And you find this in a lot of places, like airline pilots who say they've seen a flying object they couldn't explain. I've heard of them. They're being, blowback because of that. And that's unfortunate that should have to happen. But if these people are just being honest and reporting what they're saying, they shouldn't have any fear about that. Unfortunately, I think there is that fear. People don't want to be looked at as crazy. Even your relatives might think you're crazy. People already think I'm crazy, so I have nothing to lose. I walk around in a chicken suit and have a great time. So if I say I saw a UFO, people will say, okay, sure you did.
And if people want to learn more about you and your chicken suit, where should they go?
Well, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. That's the main two places. Instagram, you'll find me as Birdbrain Chickenman. And same thing on Facebook as well. And
you're available for hire, generally speaking?
Generally speaking. I do have other gigs as well, and it's the first come, first served basis. And as well, I work for an IT firm on the side, and I'm an archivist in this other corner, and I have a lot going on. So I am first come, first served, but I love doing the chicken when I can. And anybody who's got any kind of interest in advertising or marketing, especially local businesses, and especially if you're like a charity or not-for-profit, I work for free in those cases. And artsy things, independent films, big budget films, wink, wink, anything. I would even consider a daily chicken routine if the right gig came along.
And you're based out of Portland, is that right?
I am, yes. Of course, Portland. It's weird here. I guess this is the city I have to live in.
And can I get those websites one more time for listeners?
Right on, yeah. On Instagram, I'm Birdbrain Chicken Man, and that's the same thing on Facebook. I promote the Instagram because that's my newest outlet.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your stories. It was fascinating and very entertaining. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Jason. I really appreciate your having me as a guest today.
Have you had a paranormal experience? Have you seen a Bigfoot, a Yeti, a Sasquatch? Have you seen a Dogman? Have you seen any kind of cryptozoological entity? The Podcast of Mystery wants to hear your story. Please send your paranormal, cryptozoological, your story about the strange or the unknown to podofmystery@gmail.com. Once again, I want to hear about all of your stories about the strange and unknown and paranormal. If you've had a psychic experience or a close encounter with aliens or a near-death experience, I want to hear about it. There's nothing too weird for the Podcast of Mystery. Just send me an email at podofmystery@gmail.com. I want to hear your paranormal stories.
Hello, everybody. My name is Richard Magill. I'm in a month or two. I'm going to be 35. I reside in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. I like to take long walks on the beach. And a couple years ago, I was a forklift driver. And for shits and giggles, I tried to contact extraterrestrials, and it worked. And it only took me 15 minutes to see a little small light skip across the sky. And a couple weeks later, they accepted my invitation to party. And I invited them into my house to party and asked them to make me a smiley face in the sky. And now I'm the self-proclaimed personal photographer to extraterrestrials.
Wow, my goodness. So how did you initiate contact?
I think I kind of got a little entrapped. On my 31st birthday, I saw a light flash in the sky, and that kind of got me. I was never into science fiction whatsoever, and I just started researching on YouTube, watching YouTube videos, and one of them described how to make contact. Just like go in a park. I was a forklift driver, so I worked afternoons, so I was up 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and the thing said just pray to the universe, basically, and ask them to come down. And eventually maybe they'll give you a ride in your spaceship, but that's never happened to me. so far as what I can remember. But so I did it one night after work and just praying the universe. And 15 minutes in, I see a big light coming towards me, and I'm like, "Oh, what's this?" But of course, I live right next to the busiest airport in Canada, Pearson Airport. So obviously, that was an airplane. But as I'm lowering my head, I see a little light flash skip across the sky for 2 seconds, and I was like, I was so excited about that. I continued another 15, 20 minutes. Nothing happened. But then I tried every night after work. 15, 20 minutes, half hour. My thing is stars are UFOs, most likely. I just read somewhere yesterday that they said 2/3 of stars are junk stars. Like, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, right. Maybe it's just UFOs. Like, science doesn't want to tell us. But yeah.
So, how did that first so you saw, maybe, do you think they're ships, or what do you think? What did you see?
More the stars moving, like using to telepathically move left, move right, and you could see them. They kind of slowly did that, and then a few weeks of I was just trying to prove to my coworkers, like genuinely, just wanted to have an interest. I know ulterior motives of making money, getting rich and famous. I just wanted to prove to my coworkers that aliens are real. So 4:30 in the morning, I only had like a shitty iPhone that can only record like one video and then you have to delete it. So I was about to go to bed, like barely any memory. And I decided, all right, I'm gonna film one more star. So 4:30 in the morning one night, I still remember that June 15th, maybe like 3 years ago, I was filming the star, and it suddenly it locked onto my cell phone. And by locked on, I mean where the top left corner of the lens, a half blue circle appeared, and the light from the star to the lens, like I was like moving it around, and it like continues, like literally from space, they locked onto my cell phone. And ever since, and then my townhouse was really messy. So as soon as I asked them to make me a smiley face in the sky. And as soon as I stepped into my shower, like the next day or 2 days after, I noticed rudimentary alien faces. And then I'm like, okay, what's going on? Am I losing my mind? But you really focus and you can see it moving. And it's been a progression from simple faces to like the art that I have now. And it's like documenting it. I have about 20,000 pictures, and I've created a photo book containing 1,400 of them. I call it like virtual reality artwork. It's like 3D immersive artwork. Basically, what we all know is crop circles is like kindergarten level compared to what they make, or like maybe they're form of guerrilla marketing. And they found someone who is willing to build them an empire. It's kind of be like the title of the book is, "What do you mean aliens aren't real? I don't know how to make virtual reality art. I'm just a trigger man." And trigger man, like photography, not anything to do with weaponry.
Yeah. Yeah. So especially before we go further, we should talk about that. Where, if people want to find more information about you, where should they go?
Mainly my Twitter page, Richard Magill, Magill, 2. My YouTube channel, Richard Magill. And I have an Instagram that's just starting up, Magill_Richard. Let's do a little more artistic in my Instagram. Because after I started getting into making music and making some art. But I'm sorry, on my YouTube channel is a lot of the music. Because I think I maybe just play the ukulele, but it's like a one-man Led Zeppelin band that I think I'm probably the conduit for aliens. Because if you offered me $1 million to replay the exact song that I played, I would not be able to do it close.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we're talking, listeners, if those links will be in the show notes. So as we're talking, visit the links, check it out. So you said about in the, I think the showers when you saw the faces, how did that work? Were they like in a soap, or was it like a design?
No. My townhouse is really, really, really disgustingly messy. So like grime, like the scum, I would even call it.
Oh yeah.
I was lazy at the time, right?
Yeah, but that's what. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like actually like a drawing or.
No, just like like slowly moving. It's like a little like what we like the stereotypical gray alien face. And then it's slowly progressed that I quit my job, and then I walked off the job one Friday. I was sick of it, and then I bought a digital camera from a pawn shop. And the next day, I'm in my backyard, and I noticed a translucent blue ladybug-sized UFO. So basically, one of my hypotheses is that they can shrink down to insect size, or like Stephen Greer has said, a full like mile wide spaceship can shrink down into a basketball size. So it's not just I'm not making this up, right? I'm not, but so I watched it like literally like a shiny, shimmering blue thing doodling on my barbecue lid. And and then I filmed it, and I moved the grate and I scared it off. But I do have that video, but it's not very good. But then the other video on YouTube, the main thing is there's a 19-minute video which I was recording, in which I was just recording it as crushed up charcoal, sprinkle it, and you can see basically mainly it's mainly invisible. Why we can't see UFOs making crop circles is mainly because they're invisible. That they come down like light, like say UFO light energy. I'm just making that up. I don't know if it's actually light energy. It just sounds good, right? But the one time, besides the translucent blue ladybug, the 19-minute video, a little insect-sized UFO floats onto the view, onto the paper. You fast forward the whole video to see the only thing moving, but at around 4-minute, 10-second mark, a little insect-sized UFO floats onto the paper at the bottom left corner and stops, and then wobbles back and forth, and then makes like a preposterously slow motion, and there's a sound that goes with it for some reason, and like flops onto the thing to say that it's not it's not a regular bug. In 5 minutes, it meanders across the paper, and when it gets to the other side of the paper, you gotta watch really closely, because then it like shakes back a little bit and then pops out of our dimension. And I've had people say that have like slow motion in it, like, and they said they can't believe it. It's like a magician popping out of our without a cape. Sorry.
Yeah, so these things can basically pop in and out of your household. They don't need to like. I mean, maybe I'm a little naive about this, but I would imagine that they would need to come in through your door. But no, they can almost like maybe open up wormholes or blink out of reality or something.
Yeah, definitely. What we know, it's the world. What we know is just a fraction. Like, I don't have the answers. I can't really. I have no letters at the back at the end of my name. I'm just a forklift driver. But yeah, it's been crazy.
So they start kind of making these kind of designs for you. What happens next? Like, at what point do you start compiling these into like a book?
Almost, I started like I said, I bought a camera and started recording and got in. I didn't even own a digital camera before, so I had to learn the basics of that. And I've gone from a shitty camera to like a professional camera, where I was like thinking I was okay to press the screen to take a picture, versus when it progressed to I'm not even in the same room to take the picture with using the Wi-Fi. Try to get and experimenting with hundreds of different substances. I was sprinkling baking soda or flour, and then I went to my basement and I found some charcoal. Oh, that might be make it a little more visible, right? So it's just a progression. And then I found stuff around my house, and the law. I don't know. We want to talk about. There's a cross stitch picture thing that's I call our long-term project. It's basically like 10, 15 years ago. I was walking my dog, and I found a complete cross stitch picture of some big cats, and I don't know what possessed me to flip it over and just watch it, and you can see, and then somehow invisible UFO energy. I guess the same thing with they do with crops and moving it, like twiddling it around or whatever they do. the same thing, pulling the strings to make a picture on the opposite side. And there's lots of pictures if you go to my Twitter page to see what I'm talking about. But there's lots of black space in the cat's faces, and that wasn't there. It was a complete picture. All I did was just flip it around and watch for hours upon hours. I honestly think that they can finish it in like a couple minutes, but they're waiting for me to get on the Joe Rogan podcast to finish it. He's such a proponent of aliens, right? That would once and for all, like, no, you know.
So it seems like it is, you kind of almost have to prepare the medium for them to make the kind of their designs and their art, like you're saying about I think you said some ash and stuff.
Correct. Yeah. Like I'm the photographer, but I'm also the stage crew. That I like to say, although these pictures are staged, I may give them different substances and put it and just sit and watch for hours, sometimes 10, 15 minutes, sometimes up to 2 hours. And so I put in like 3 years of time, and all you got to do is, but the thing about the book, it's still, I've taken it zoomed in, macro, normal size. I'm waiting for the picture to be complete, but they never complete the picture. It's because it utilizes what we know as crop circles. You have to see it from far away. So you have to have the book, and you put the book down, and you take your phone from 1 foot to 3 feet to 6 feet away, in many different location vantage points. So like one page can like give you like an hour of figuring out pictures. And 3D crop circle, like 3D pictures, like the game SimCity, I describe it as, kind of.
And have you had any actual like direct communication with these beings?
Well, like a couple, you can use your third eye and talk to them all the time, but they look like, most of them, there's lots of different types. I've seen like the grays, like mainly light energy individuals. What Tinkerbell from Peter Pan, I would describe, probably that's what they base it on, but they're more like lizard, like cute, really cute lizard-like things. But you usually only see their faces, not their whole body. So I can't. They're like shimmering, you know. But the actual conversation, that's the thing. For me to go, I'm sure they're so scared of people saying, "Oh, I hear voices in my head." They talk telepathically, right? And from other planes of existence or from far away. So they don't. I can't say we have a running conversation like we normally do. But one of the ways I've tried to distinguish what is just my imagination to actual conversation. Okay, the one time they actually put a word in my head, I'll tell you this story. It's kind of funny. I was about to go out on a little errand, and I just talking to myself, and then I blurt out, "Sure." And are you allowed to profanity? I already said it a couple times.
I'm not quite sure. We'll see. If not, I'll just bleep it out, and then they'll know there's some word.
Well, you gotta know. Okay, so then I corrected it. Sure. All right, so that's the word. But then don't think anything of it. And I'm driving and I'm coming back about 10, 15 minutes later. I'm stopped at a red light, and the license plate in front of me says "Heffa Lump." Heffa Lump. Heifer like a horse or a cow or something, right? So like they play word games like that. Another way I do it is I ask them to give me a word before I open a fortune cookie, before I even open the wrapper. And they one of the words they put in my head was hiccups. And I open the wrapper and I look. I only got 3 out of 6 numbers, so I'm not going to win the fortune on this. Everyone, don't be trying to get your own alien friends and trying to waste all your money on lottery. All right, please. I don't want no none of that. But so that they give me hiccups, and the fortune is be prepared for a sudden and unexpected but good change of events. So like hiccups, basically. They play word games. They're like lighthearted. They're not as evil. I'm here to tell everyone all these abduction stories, or I don't have any of that. I have all good stories to do with aliens. If there's anything bad thing, it's me reading a book to figure things out, and there's something negative in the book, and then that kind of you think that things of it, right? It like slowly changes your feeling towards them, and that's why I stopped reading after 6 books.
Okay, yeah. Do you these entities that you're in contact with? Do you know where they're from?
I'm sure they're all over, but okay, I guess we'll have to talk. One of my other hypotheses is that they can use social media to communicate with us. And this all started with me after a month of interacting with them. I told my family, guys, I'm talking to aliens, I'm interacting with aliens, documenting their art. And there's mental illness that runs in my family. My mom was bipolar. My grandma used to throw lamps at my grandpa. But then I heard stories, and she was the most lovingest person I've ever known. So people can change. But so my cousin obviously thinks I'm gone bonkers and tells me about the movie Beautiful Mind, in which Russell Crowe's character thinks that the Russians are using the classified ads to send messages to their spy to spy. So then I obviously got to go and look at YouTube comments, and one of the I'll tell you the best. I'll tell you the best comment on the about the author page. I told a story about how I was in university, and the English teacher gave us the essay to the first test. She gave us what we're going to write the test on beforehand, and said, "Don't look online," and everyone did. And the reason why she accused everyone of cheating because they used the word nonchalant a lot. And I really like that word. So after the first year of university, I quit and traveled to Venezuela. But when I wrote the page of the about the author page that tells that story, about an hour or two later, it probably was a YouTube comment about aliens, but or a YouTube video about aliens, sorry. But the comment is, "We are aliens," and the author's name is Nonchalant. So going back to stuff like that. But then I found a good comment, a really long comment that says, I'll just read you the first bit. "Hello, my name is Kin, and we are the Yao Yel. We are an advanced race of intelligent otherworldly beings, the planet Sega, located 473,000 light years from Earth in the Orion star system, which can be seen from Earth. We send this message to you in hope of communicating with us. We have been around long before humans, and we will be here long after. We are a peaceful species on our world. There's no war, no government, no conflict. We possess the understanding that war is meaningless," and it's a long thing, but I think that's the main group. And I actually have a 20-minute documentary that someone made about me. Shout outs to Parker on. So if you go to Parker's Super Video, Parker's Super Cool Parker's Super Cool Videos, and scroll down, you'll see a 20-minute documentary about me. We did a full interview, and then he made, it's like an episode of Ancient Aliens, but present tense aliens. It's really well done. I want to thank him for that. But
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, it was great.
Cool. But in that he found out that the Yawel are like, he researched it a little bit, and they said that's the most likely group that would make first contact with us. Yeah, so I'm sure I've been documenting lots of different types. I think we're the odd planet out. Everyone else is working together. No fighting, but we're the only one. We're not gonna get into no galactic federation. We don't deserve it.
So you think that you might be in contact with multiple species?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Most likely, yeah. Like I said, I've seen different types. I try not to. It's way too. My brain is not the greatest from smoking too much pot over the years, so I'm not going to even bother asking everyone's names. I know a couple. Shout out to Xenon, Juicy Magoosie, little alien, my little friends, and that's all the names. All the names I can remember. I don't bother with names too much, or I don't ask them. I don't really talk to them like we normally do, and I'm working with them, collaborating to document their art, we're friends, but I have no idea, who they are, what they are,
So why do you think they are making this art? What's their kind of goal or their end game?
Well, just like I just mentioned, the Galactic Federation, how they said that if everyone understands what I'm talking about, how an Israeli diplomat said they're interacting with governments, but they don't think we're ready to have contact. But I think the Earth is in dire need of contact, or is in dire need of help. So they found someone who is willing to try and make a business, and guaranteed I'm giving 50% of the profits to environmental causes. So the order of business is cleaning up the plastics in the ocean. And what do I have to bolster my claim that I'm actually interacting with the aliens? Lo and behold, a little alien green one-eyed fish or shrimp. That's like how I talk to them. You just think aloud. And so one day I'm like, hey, let me try some of your guys' food. And then soon after, I found a little green one-eyed alien fish. There's lots of the picture on my Twitter page. And it's really, really, really small. Like it fits inside of a memory card case. And it looks like kind of dehydrated. It's got like a little, like a ridge or something like a shrimp would have, but it's green. If they say little green man, what would they eat? Says that would most likely be that.
What did it taste like?
No, I didn't taste it. Everyone asked that. No.
You didn't eat it?
No. I think I might have licked it or smelt it, but no, I have it for science. It might be a little rotten from a couple years, but no, I try to, and if anyone is a marine biologist, feel free to direct message me and I'll give you a little piece. We can analyze it.
You said you smelled it. What did it smell like? Did it smell like just a fish or something else?
It smells a little fish, probably, but that might be. It's been so long. I can't. I don't even want to bother.
You still have it?
Yes, of course.
How are you storing it?
After about a year, it slowly started to get a little brown, so I put it in the freezer. But now it's always been in the memory card case, so it's not too much oxygen getting at it. But my DNA has been contaminated when I first picked it up.
Oh, really? How tell me about that.
Well, I touched it.
Yeah.
No, I just touched it. So might probably.
Oh, on it.
It's might have some of my DNA on it, but I'm sure if you snip the tiny little. Yeah, no, I didn't actually. I said, if you give me another one, then I will eat the other one. And then I thought I did find another one, but then when you actually look at it, it was just a green pepper off of a pizza. So if you actually, that one was not. That was, it can only have one amazing thing at a time.
Yeah, and they didn't take offense to this at all. Like you asked for a little bit of their food, they gave you like a little sample, but you didn't eat it. But they were understanding.
Yeah, probably. Maybe they were a little pissed off too, honestly. But that was actually the second thing I've ever asked. The first thing I ever asked was maybe a few months of interacting with them. I don't know what I was thinking. Here I was given to go from a forklift job to having a dream job that nobody ever dreamed of, a personal photographer to extraterrestrials. I should just be, just be thankful for that. I'm going to make some money eventually on this, hopefully. But it's been 3 years without a paycheck, so money is all gone. But after a few months of interacting, I asked them for a gold and meteorite lace dagger, like the one found in King Tut's tomb. And then after I continuously asked for this for a couple of weeks, and then I found a rock in the exact same spot in my backyard where they locked on the first definitive contact with me in my backyard. I found a rock that it's like a perfect tomahawk head. It's got so many different signs of craftsmanship. I wrote them all down just so I remembered. It's got a parallel design, a little sharpened edge, a notch for fastening, 2 flat sides. I broke the tip on it. The thing, meteorites are mainly magnetic, most of them, and this one is highly magnetic. But the difference between meteorites and magnetite, the earth rock, is when you scratch it on tile, like inside of like porcelain, like inside of a toilet lid or something, magnetite leaves a black mark. Meteorites do not, and this one does not. And I actually have a small version of it too that also has all those same things, that's magnetic and does not. Yeah, so So it's not nothing gold. Maybe there's partially, maybe there's gold inside of it, but there's lots of pictures. There's a few pictures on my Twitter page too. That it's the first gift from aliens. I would reckon.
And so you've had, gosh, you know, a lot of people talk about, I think you talked about it too, other people having like alien abduction experiences. Have you had anything like that where they took you aboard a ship at all?
No. Just, I think the main difference is the aliens that I interact with, who aren't maybe, like, I can't say for other people, but I invited them into my house, right? So to stay to party, and they make art for me. We have play, like, sometimes they'll like hide and go seek. I'll like look for I'll say, hey, one of my cats like vanished and then popped out of the closet. Like, just like they play games like that, but no, nothing nefarious. No.
How do the cats react to these things? You said that there's been these small little craft floating around the household. Do the cats?
Oh, yeah, they can look. They can they look and see. Kind of get, how they say they notice like maybe ghosts or anything or spirits. It's probably the same thing with my mom. My mom passed away, so maybe that's also her, maybe. But yeah, they can like sometimes look side to side or something.
But there's no conflict between the cats. I imagine them chasing after the little UFO and them be like, leave us alone.
No.
And so at what point did it become a book? Like, did they tell you to make a book, or did you just decide to make it?
I think it was a good question. I guess it was always going to be it might be even better for an app, to tell you the truth, but that's apparently $100,000. It's like a lot of money to make an app. So I put all my money in. I have like 5,000 books. I have like about 4,800 left. So if anyone is listening, wants a book, the last podcast I did, I said $35, but I'm not making any money on that. So what's the point of me doing that? I gotta boost it up to $50, $50 all in US dollars. That's tax and shipping. You direct message me on Twitter, and I'll tell you the PayPal, and I promise you I will ship it out. I already had my first international clients. Shout out to Arnie H. I think he's in Maryland. I'm gonna just jump on my phone for 10 seconds, and I asked him actually yesterday. I put a tweet. This is the customer service department of the first alien UFO and human business venture. Excuse me, @rock_hawk. Have you been able to travel to other planets and dimensions without having to leave your seat? Or am I completely delusional and need to get checked out? Be honest. And this was like out in the open. This wasn't a private message. And his response is, it's been quite a trip. There's definitely some type of energy radiating that changes how you view the pictures and see a whole new plane. There's tons of picture-in-picture going on. A few I've seen several in just one picture. There's more than just graphite and dirt for sure. So he also invited aliens in. So I can't say, hey, buy my book and each book comes with its own little UFO to make you pictures, but most likely that's the case. Everyone, so I'm sorry, you have no more privacy. Everything is going to be moving. You're going to get one with the universe. It's not that it gets a few minutes to get used to, but then it's just second nature to you after a while. I hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any feeling of like an intrusion, like you said, maybe about privacy? Like you said, first time when you saw it, it was in the shower. Do you ever want to be like, hey guys, this is private?
A couple times, sure, yes, yes, but
do they cooperate, or are they like, we're busy making our art, leave us alone?
No, it's my sister, who completely didn't believe in this, and she doesn't believe in it, and she's completely oblivious to it. So if you don't pay attention, you just can go on with your world. But once it's like a Pandora's box. Once you realize that it is what it is, then it's a magical, wondrous adventure. Yes, you'll probably have no privacy, but even of all my bad deeds I've ever done. I know I've never done too many bad things, I'm going to say, but they still picked me for some reason. I don't know. I appreciate it, aliens.
And what do you think they're trying to communicate through this art that you're helping them with?
Just to get on with the show, that prove to everyone that they're real and make some money to help the environment. And yeah.
And how have, I think you said you tried reading some books, but there's a lot of negative stuff. How have other people in kind of maybe the UFO community reacted to you?
I've tried. I've tried so many times to get a hold of anybody, and I've only got a hold of George Norrie, and he said thanks. That's the email he sent. So I haven't even been able to get.
Oh, just thanks. That's it. Just thanks.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. That's not. My buddy's telling him about. I sent an email to the Canadian broadcaster of Canada, the CBC, and they said, no, there's no need to. We're not reporting on anything you refer to as extraterrestrials. So I've been having trouble to get, break into the mainstream. That's why I appreciate you putting me on. This is my actually third podcast. You're giving me a hat trick right now. 3 Wednesdays in a row I've done a podcast. First with you had me at Bigfoot, and that one's on their YouTube channel. And then the second one last week I did one with the Oddball Aussie from Australia. That's coming out in a couple of weeks. And then I don't know when this one will be. We're not live, are we?
No, we are not live. No. That's one of the wonderful things about podcasting is, that you need to restate something or whatever. No. It's we're not live.
One
cut. Who is the voice with you? Who's with you? That is not an alien, is it?
No, that's my buddy, Daniel, aka Steve Daniels. He's an artist and producer. He's making a little documentary about me. He's does a lot of. You want to say hi to him for 2 seconds?
Come on, hey man, how you doing, man?
Hey, how are you doing? So you're making a documentary here. How long has that been going on?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you asked because it's been quite incredible. I mean, Richard's my childhood friend, and so essentially I've been kind of following him around after work and just kind of detailing like what his days have been, and essentially kind of it's like about his meteoric rise to superstardom. And
or lack
thereof, and then kind of just the story of overcoming. Like I got a company called 777 Overcoming, and it's all about overcoming. We collaborate with different brands, organizations, charities, hospitals. Like we raised last year $25,000 for a local hospital here that saved my life, called Sick Kids Hospital. And I take on different projects that are to do with overcoming. And this is something that I'm doing in my downtime. But I'm just Richard's a really optimistic person who has a lot of positive energy, and he's really he really believes in this full-heartedly, and he wants to share it with the world. So I support that, and I like to document that story. So we've been documenting it just a little bit before Christmas. So we're going on about 40, 50 days now, and it's going to end at 77 days. And the film is going to be called A Quiet Moment with Richard.
So what was it like when your friend first told you about what was going on with him? These experiences.
Oh, you're asking me?
He doesn't. He believes in aliens, but he thinks I'm off my rocker because he knew my mom. Okay. My mom was a wackadoodle crazy lady.
No, not really.
Oh, she was a real wild child.
Yeah, but so to be honest, there's different points that he mentions, because he has different kind of case studies and different evidence that he uses in his books, and some of it I find validation in through my own opinion based off what I've studied since I was a child. I was always interested in UFOs. So that's also why I was interested in this story, because it was not only about overcoming, but it was also about, aliens. And that's something that has always interested me. So some of the stuff I see, the stars and capturing the different things in Venezuela when they first, I could see how this all happened to him. I could understand it. And that's what I've been kind of investigating through this documentary. I just feel really bad for the editor because we already have 40 hours of this. Or 50 hours of this.
Have you seen any of these happenings that he's described?
I haven't seen any of the happenings, but
because that's the thing, he doesn't really believe. So aliens don't care, but not gonna do anything for him.
Yeah,
you gotta.
That's true.
If you don't believe, you don't look wholeheartedly.
That's true. You got to believe it first to see it. That's what there's a saying like that. You got to have the faith, you know.
But at the same time, we've looked in the back. We've looked in like the star. I say, Daniel, look at the star, and it slowly comes down towards him.
It came right up to my face, and I still didn't believe it. No, just kidding.
No,
Really? Oh, okay.
No, but he has
hardcore
his
skeptic
book
then.
is great. You know, I really love his artwork. That's actually one of the things I most enjoy about Richard is the artwork he creates. He's really timid to talk about it. But right now he has about 30 paintings that are done, really well done. They're made with oils and acrylics. That's right.
correct.
And they're just really awesome collage type multimedia version. Like he could probably explain it better, but his paintings are awesome. You guys got to check out his paintings. And his Instagram page is what he's kind of building more of an art page for his alien experience. So yeah, that's what I got to say about him. He's a good guy. I like him.
Thank you, sir. Right back at you.
Thanks for doing this, Richard. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. And
The art stuff is for the I was going to do for the second book. To like, they could also I finish a painting and they can still make, like in the documentary when you see the little purple thing, that's like when you zoom into a painting, you see a little purple thing. He says that's just aliens. I forget what he said exactly. That's a UFO. They also come down in little X's, like little circles with X's. I have pictures of when you zoom in, a little tiny X, and I also have that of in the sky. Little, I don't know if it's a satellite maybe, but so big in the sky, shrink down, little microscopic, making adjustments. So I think I might be pissing off a lot of artists that maybe I'm not the only one that has UFOs helping me make the art. So maybe this, I don't think I'm the only one that has, maybe I'm the only one that has been documenting like this, and hopefully I am, because, you know, if there's more than one book containing artwork, I'm sure no one else can get 50%. So that's why they picked me. I'm easygoing, and I realize aliens are real, benevolent, savvy business people, and they understand the concept of monopoly, and they play for keeps. So they found someone who's going to give 50% of profits, whether it's a few $1,000s or a few $1 million. Hopefully it'll help the environment somewhat.
You talked about how, I mean, I've heard you refer to them as your business partners, and you said that, you know, they're kind of savvy about this stuff. How was that communicated to you? How did you determine, like, maybe the price of the book, or maybe the percentage you were talking about? You're giving a percentage away to help the planet.
I think in my dreams they might have said something like that, most likely. But I just figured out, like, I have to. Like, why wouldn't I? Because without them, I wouldn't have this opportunity. So they deserve at least 50%. I figure, 50-50. I don't want to give 51% and then I'm not in control, right? So,
and so, have you tried selling this book like on Amazon or any of, like, you know, the booksellers? I'm wondering what, like, random people, when they pick up this book, what kind of experience do they have doing that?
I tried. Well, that's the thing. If I had gone to a normal publishing house, most likely they would have said no, but they would have only given me 15 to 25% of the profit. So I'm self-publishing it completely. That way, I went a little overboard with the pictures. There's a picture of poop and vomit in the book. That's only 2 out of 1,400 pictures. So just everybody's been forewarned. They make pictures and everything, right? But I'm just doing it all myself. And I just picked a number, easy, $50, $50 Canadian, $50 Euro, $50 American, just with tax, everything. I figured nice, easy. Other countries, I'm gonna have to figure it out. But the original plan was to use libraries to sell it, and every try to be as philanthropical as possible, and give one to a few bucks to the libraries. And the funny thing, so I think of that idea, and then I went to a few libraries, and they took the book, and they're not going to do anything with it. But then the nearest main city where I live next to is Toronto, and just recently, before COVID, my book has been ready for literally a year and a half. Just so everyone knows, I'm not trying to jump on the bandwagon of the aliens are trending now. No, this is a 3.5 year project of when I first started doing this. But where was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought.
I think you were talking about the libraries. I think you said you shopping it around.
Yeah. Excuse me. The Toronto Library, their budget got cut in half. So it would be nice to, hey, Toronto Library, you guys want to? Well, I don't even think they're open. We're still in lockdown here. It's crazy. It would be good, everyone stuck at home to enjoy, to be able to. You can't travel really, so you want to travel to other alien planets and dimensions. Buy my book
Exactly.
without having to leave your seat.
I have to ask, what kind of design do they make in the poop?
Like,
Please, I want to know that too.
You have to just different face, like literally there's myriads amounts of different types of aliens. Like what we all know is like the Greys or the reptilians is like nothing. So there's hundreds of different faces, but they also have landscapes. It depends on how you look at it. But yeah, there's a couple. One looks like a little bird. One looks like a little baboon. I'm looking at this shit right now. Yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah, it's not that disgusting. It's black and white.
Yeah. Plus, it's natural.
Oh, everyone does it. What do you all?
Yeah.
Poop roses. Little.
Yeah. So the art that they're creating, is it completely unlike anything like that humans make, or is it any way kind of reminiscent of human styles of art?
Well, you don't know how many times I think they've gone from simple, like I said, the 2D geometric patterns and shapes that we know as crop circles, and then people think, oh, it's probably human made a little bit, some forgeries. So they went completely the most complicated 3D design that I'm sure. Actually, funny they mentioned that. I describe the art as a mixture of Salvador Dali and Walt Disney. Right. So, and the Salvador Dali, his what is it, Lady Liberty? I think I forgot the name of the painting, but it's like blurry and kind of you see Lady Liberty, and then from 20 meters away, you stand from the painting, and it turns into Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, so it's kind of like the same thing. That it's crop circle made by microscopic or insect size or regular size. I have pictures of fields from my second floor of my townhouse, and the grass. They make like pictures in the grass too. They make also in the noise of the pictures. If you're familiar with photography term, the noise, they make really nice, crazy psychedelic patterns. So they make it in everything. Try to defy the laws of physics, prove undeniably. Let's get on with if aliens are real. Let's just move on with that. They are. And I don't think we should be trying to figure out which one's this, which one's that. Maybe people can do that, but I can't waste my time on that. But yeah, it's complicated, very complicated.
I have to ask because I had somebody on a little while ago who, had some bad experiences. Do you think that there's any of these like visitors that are up to no good?
What did they have specifically?
Well, so they had been abducted, and it was not a fun experience. It was very traumatic, and they didn't want to happen, and they were still kind of afraid that just any day they would just show up and they couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm. From what I've read, Jim Mara's book, Alien Agenda, I believe it is. He says it's like when you're a child and you go to the doctor, and the doctor's looking at you, touching you, and poking you with things. You're going to be, if you don't understand things, you're going to be a little traumatic, but it's for the greater good, right? It's for your own good. So I've heard of people putting on masks and pretending that they're aliens and sexually abusing people. So it could be maybe something like that, but I only have good things to say about aliens.
And have they given you any kind of indications? I know a popular thing amongst people who have had contact is they have messages about the future. Have they given you any hints about what is in store for humanity?
You get thought like some ideas, mainly about the environment. I don't want to piss off the oil and gas people, but one of the things they keep telling me is it's like painting yourself into a corner, but the opposite, you're taking the foundation out from underneath your feet by sucking all the oil from underneath us. Because the mantle core, it probably like insulates it from that. So like last year, the oceans were recorded the highest temperature ever. So we're worried about global warming from polluting the cars, but also maybe inside too. That's one of the things they told me. I think, or it could be just my own common sense. I might have a little bit of that left over.
So once again, if people want to learn more about you or buy the book, where should they go and what should they do?
It's not on Amazon. It's not on Walmart shelves. It's nowhere except through me. Go to my Twitter page, or if you want to go to my Instagram page, I look at that too once a day. But mainly I'm on, you hit me up. The customer service, the shipper, and I'll just direct message me and tell me where you're at, and we'll $50 if you're in America. I don't know about Hawaii. It might be a little bit more, but I'll get back to you on that. Hawaii, and I love you guys too. We'll get you a book.
Did we get the account names in there?
Richard Magill 2. Yeah, we did. I think we did. Richard Magill number 2. Richard Magill 2 at Twitter.
I'll make sure I have those links in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time and for your just a fantastic story.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I really had fun.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. Once again, this has been the Podcast of Mystery, and I have been your host, Jason Rigdon. If you want more information about our guests or about this show in general, just go to podcastofmystery.com. All the details will be there about how to subscribe, how to support the show, a list of all of our guests, all that kind of stuff. So just go to podcastofmystery.com. Thank you so much for listening.